if we were like comedians in the early 80s, you had to do cocaine, like crazy amounts of cocaine. It was nothing for a club to ask you up front, how much do you want in cash? How much do you want in coke? Some clubs would just lay it out for you in the green room, and it was just on the house. This is what I think about all the time. If we were like comedians in the early 80s, like you had to do cocaine. I think they all did cocaine, like crazy amounts of cocaine. And then then a lot of them did heroin, and they just did everything. And then they were all just like dropping dead like flies. Like, what a wild thing. Like, that doesn't exist now. Like, when a comedian dies now, it's just,
COVID-19 only.
COVID-19.
Nah, the comedy world definitely got its shit together. Now you can't. If your agency knows you're doing coke, they might not. If you have a problem with it, like, listen, a lot of people doing bumps and shit, whatever. But we're talking. You're waking up. You're hitting rails. You're sipping on fucking plastic bottle vodka, hitting some more rails. Then you run out of drugs, and you got to go through over to Silver Lake, and on the other side of Silver Lake to find another 8-ball. They're not. The Pablo Franciscos of the world. The most talented people on earth, they end up falling flat because they let their undisciplined drug use get the best of them.
I have a friend who was pretty big in the 80s, and at least like making money wise and getting booked wise. And he said that like it was nothing for a club to ask you up front, like, how much do you want in cash? How much do you want in coke? Like your pay wise. So you had the option. You'd be like, oh, no, I'll just take all the cash. But a lot of people were like, no, yeah, I'll take this much coke and then this much in cash. And that's the way it was. Bro. Can you imagine? And they said the green room, some clubs would just lay it out for you in the green room, and it was just on the house. Like,
one of my favorite Uncle Joey Diaz stories. I've known Uncle Joey since 2000, 2001. And, he used to come to the Improv all the time. Mm-hmm. He was a middle act for a while, then he headlined, but mostly he was a middle act, and he's a crush. But he would come, like, one of the waiters at the place had a dope ass house. If you know anything about Tempe, Arizona, he lived across the street from Casey Moore's. Casey Moore's is it's basically a house, but it's a bar in the middle of a great neighborhood in Arizona State. Right off of Mill Avenue. So this guy had this great house, great backyard, lit up well. He was like very flamenco. He had better weed than everybody before anybody had good weed. He was like, tonight's menu. Like, he'd be at the Improv like, well, gentlemen, tonight at Max's After Hours, tonight we have a keg of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and I have a 1/8 of Northern Lights. And this is like an 01, bro. And 02. So Joe Diaz used to come party with us all the time over there, dude. And he told us a story. He has a famous story about Tommy Davidson at the Miami Improv, and Joey Diaz was middling. And Tommy Davidson, the first night, crushes, and then Whitney and Bobby show up then after the show, and then they go out and they just get cracked out of their mind, I guess. And they're just fucking they don't even, the next day the club's calling Tommy, they can't get a hold of him. Sold out weekend. Can't get a hold of him. They're at the hotel banging. Finally, they get a hold of him. They're like, listen, he goes, I can't do the shows. He's too fucked up doing crack and hair, whatever else he was doing with Bobby and Whitney. Anyways, the club basically threatens legal action. Like, dude, we have a showroom of 400 people and 4 more shows of 400 people. Either you fucking do it or you're going to go, like, we're going to sue your ass. He shows up to this show. Spit dripping, like dried spit on the edge of his mouth, like coming to his chin. Anyways, he breaks down crying on stage, bro. But when you hear Joe Diaz tell this story, it's probably from sometime in the 90s, It was fucking unbelievable. Like, when you hear Uncle Joey tell that story, dude, it was just, and we were all be out hammered after the Improv, 1 in the morning on Max's patio, across from Casey Moore's in Tempe. Uncle Joey telling stories, man. It was a beautiful time.
Do you know Rich Voss?
I do know him. I don't know him personally that well, but I know him.
Yeah. He was telling us a story about, because he used to have a real bad problem, like crack, like crazy. And here they were doing a show somewhere, and they wanted crack. So he in the feature made the MC drive them to go get crack. And they go somewhere like in Massachusetts or somewhere, and like in the hood, like, and they're just tiny little, like preppy little white kid MC drives him there. And they go inside to this crack house in the hood and leave him sitting in the car, right, for like hours. And then finally come back out, and he is losing his mind, this MC. He's like, I'm going to get killed. We're going to get arrested. And it was David Spade was his fucking MC. I was like, shit, because Rich is like,
that's beautiful.
And they gave him no choice. Like, you're driving us to where we need to go. We're getting crack. And I would love to hear David Spade tell that story, because Rich Voss tells it beautifully.
I also wanted to talk to you about, okay, because look, obviously I smoke a lot of weed, and you've started to dabble more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the episodes, I've kind of cut back on being completely blasted out of my mind, so I'm a little bit more faster on my feet and shit. I'm not coming in two innings late on everything on this podcast. Because a few weeks ago I did that, and then I threw off everything, and I don't know if anybody else caught it, but
no, we edited it well.
But what I want to do is I want to do an extra episode, one of these, where we only we roll 4 joint. Now it's along the lines of other stuff we want to do, but I'll be with you in Indiana, or I'm sorry, in a location where weed is legal. We're gonna be in the same place where weed is legal, and I want to get a pack of 4 joints each, and then we just rip the whole episode. Is because this is where I get the idea. One time I did a stand-up show at a weed shop in LA in Hollywood in like 2008 or 9, maybe 7, and it was a joint. The facility, the fucking weed shop was doing an event. When you went in, you put a bracelet on and you get a joint. They had a big container, probably a 3-foot container, completely perfectly stacked, perfectly symmetrical rolled joints. We're talking a 3-foot container by a 1-foot by 3-footer at least.
Jesus.
And it was an all the joints you could smoke party, right? And contest. So you had a bracelet. You walked in, you got a joint. They marked the mark. Okay, that's your joint. You come back, you smoke that, and no one, this is the only time I've ever been anywhere where no one passed the joints, because you were in charge of smoking your own joints. So once you got your joint down to the roach, you took it back to the people. They put it in a jar. They took your bracelet, marked you another one, and handed you another joint. And that's how it worked. And it was probably one of the most highs I've ever been, because I probably just smoked like 7 or 8 joints on myself, which is a lot in an hour and a half. But that's what we're going to do for an episode. We're just got we have our joints rolled up. Everybody's good. I'll even buy a joint roller so they're all exactly symmetrical, the exact same amount of weed, the exact same size, whatnot. And we just sit there at the beginning and just go. And that's it. No stopping. Just keep. I mean, look, we're not racing, but you keep puffing. The entire time, and until all the joints are gone.
I feel like you should smoke 4 and I should smoke 2. Because if I smoke 4, I'll be unconscious. I don't know if I'll be able to. Will I be able to talk?
Are you committed to the podcast or not? Do you want to fucking talk? I'll put the microphone. I'll drag you around by your feet and with the microphone by your back so they can just hear me pulling.
I feel like at 2 joints I'll be blasted, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll try anything once.
But again, this is like going north of the wall for you. Okay, you're Jon Snow. You're going north of the wall. And guess what? Sometimes I've been north of the wall. I know how it gets out there. You have to fucking learn too, bro. This is the only way. It's like stoner protocol to go. But I mean, you haven't even hit a gravity bong out of a tub yet with a 5-gallon fucking water jug. We got work to do, Todd. You have 22 years of police fucking career to cover. You have to cover that ground of all the years. If you were a comedian, you had been smoking weed them times. We have a lot of catching up to do, Todd. And this is just an event that's going to help you get up to speed.
All right. We'll do it. Remember now I used to have to do those videos with Pat, and we would watch those viral videos, and he would get me all baked. Dude, we would go to edit that later. I'd walk in there and I'd be like, I do not remember saying that. Like I was blacked out, dude. I've never been like weed blacked out before. It was kind of, what's cool about it like versus, I mean, you get blacked out on fucking booze, you're done till the next day. But like after an hour, you start to come back and you're like, it's fucking weird, right? You're like, oh, I was walking around unconscious an hour ago. Oh, I feel all right now.
Yeah. That's it all works out. And weed is very friendly in that way. I mean, you might hear your heart pounding or some other things happening, but it's going to be a good time either way.